Hi, my name is Melody Wilson, and this is my Joyful Sound application testimony. My father's a pastor, and so growing up, I was surrounded by God. My whole family believed in God, and all my friends who believed in God, because I was homeschooled for a little bit, so all the friends I had were from church. And so it kind of just seemed normal at age 7 to say a prayer to escape the fires of hell, because I was terrified of going there. So I said the prayer, and for 10 years after that, I convinced myself and everyone around me that I had a genuine relationship with God. And everyone believed me, and I was a huge part of our youth group. And I would lead people to Christ, and I was feeling good. I just felt like, all right, I'm good. But then the only people that kind of saw the real me were my family. Like, I would come home and I'd have an attitude, and I wouldn't be doing my quiet time. I would just be not doing the things I needed to do. I'd put my attention and focus in things that did not matter at all. And so my mom would nag me about it, and it would just make me so mad. And I'd be like, Mom, I'm fine. I know I have a relationship with God and all this. And every year we would go to Lynchburg, Virginia at Liberty, and we would have student life camp. Like, we went for like every year since middle school, and every year, like, it never failed. Everyone would get like a camp high or whatever, and we would be all about God. Like, we'd be intoxicated, and we would just feel so good. We'd be so pumped, and then we'd go home, and then a week later we'd be the same as we were before we went. Especially the last night of camp when everybody's about to leave. We're like all crying. We're just like reflecting on the week and all the things we need to change, and we're like, yeah, we're gonna do some big stuff. And then we'd go home and we'd do nothing. It just happened every year, and it really irritated me, but I was too lazy to do anything about it. But in 2011, July 18th to be exact, it was the second day of camp, which was really strange because I typically didn't really try to learn anything at camp until the last day. I was very extremely lazy. And David Nasser was the speaker that week, and he told a story about his wife and how growing up she was like a huge part of her youth group. She would be the first person to volunteer, the first person to help people out, and everybody looked up to her. And then she went to an event kind of like what I was at, and she heard a speaker, and when the invitation was given, she went up to the front and realized that she really wasn't saved, and that she hadn't been living like she needed to be living. And so that kind of struck a chord in me, and I was just kind of like, that sounds really familiar. That sounds a lot familiar. It sounds just like me. And so after the corporate worship time, we would go to a family group time, which was just our youth groups, where we would go and like reflect on the day, and we'd have some more worship. And it was always like a typically emotional time because it was just so intimate with all the people that we know our whole lives. And so we went, and the whole time when people were talking, I was just sitting there praying. I was like, God, I don't want this to be fake. I was like, God, if this is real, give me a sign. I was like, I know I have no right to ask you for a sign, but God, please. And like, I was crying, and I looked down, and this sounds so corny, I promise you, this happened. I looked down, and one of my tears that had fallen on my leg looked straight like a dove. It looked just like a dove. And I was just kind of like, it's like, really? It's like, really? I was like, wow, that's awesome. And so I went to my youth pastor, and I told him what I felt, how that I needed a relationship. And he was like, okay, Melody, I know you've grown up in church. I know you know what to say. He was like, I'm not going to let you repeat after me because I want this to be real for you. He was like, I want you to say your own prayer, and I want you to mean every word of it if you really mean it. And so I said a prayer, and I'm sure my youth pastor did not understand a word I said because I was crying so hard, and it was just like a blubbering mess, but I meant every word that I said to God. And so ever since then, my relationship with God has been growing, and my relationship with my family and friends and everything's been good, and I just would love the opportunity to share my gifts that God has given me to spread His love around the world, and not for my glory, but for His. Thank you.